everyone, I'm Evan, and this is my mom.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucia.
And welcome to
Luvan Cooking.
Today we're going to be making crispy scallion pancakes.
Crispy scallion pancakes are actually really easy to make, and the results are delicious.
Cannot wait to eat them.
For this recipe, you'll only need 5 ingredients. First, you're going to want all-purpose flour. Second, water. Third, cooking oil. You can either use canola oil, vegetable oil, or peanut oil. Fourth, green onions, also known as scallions. And last, table salt or fresh sea salt. For this recipe, I'm going to be making enough to serve 4 hungry boys, because that's how many boys we have in our family. First, you want to make 3 cups of flour and add into a mixing bowl. So you can just estimate, it doesn't have to be exact. So 2 and 3. Okay, put that aside. So next you want to add anywhere between half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of salt. So if you're on a low sodium diet, then obviously you don't have to add as much. Actually, let me give you an idea of what half a teaspoon versus 1 teaspoon looks like. Evan, can you hold out your hand? Okay, so let's do the 1 teaspoon. So that's what 1 teaspoon looks like. And this is what half a teaspoon looks like. So as you can see, there's a big difference. For me personally, I think I am going to go with the half teaspoon because the recipe does call for more salt later on when we put the scallions inside. So Evan, go ahead and dump the half a teaspoon of tea salt in there for me. Thank you. All right. Now, next you're going to want to use either very, very hot water or boiling water. So in this case, I've already measured out 1 1/4 cup of boiling water. It's been sitting here on my counter for a little bit, so it may have cooled off, but the reason you want to use hot water versus cold water is because it'll produce a more crispy consistency when you fry the pancake. So that's why you want to use hot water. Okay, so what I like to do is first mix the salt up a little bit with your flour. Okay, and then I'm sure you've all seen this before. Create a little well, and then just add a little at a time. And I don't advise you put your hand in there at first in case the water is still really hot. But I think this is the part that a lot of kids enjoy because it reminds them of making Play-Doh. And I think this is a recipe that you can definitely share with your kids and make this together with them. Evan, do you remember making this as a child?
I do. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember like a lot of times you would have more flour on your face and your body than we did in the bowl.
This is very true.
All right, so see how that's taking shape? Now, one thing I want to mention is, you know, everyone uses different types of flour, right? So in this case, I'm using unbleached all-purpose flour, but some of you might like, you know, different flours that are you know, more healthy for you, or flour that, you know, contains less gluten, whatever. So that's why you want to just add the water slowly, because the amount of water that it takes will differ, but at a minimum it requires 1 1/4 cup of water. So you can see here there's still quite a bit of dry ingredients on the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more. I have a little extra water sitting on the side here. And you want to add a little at a time, because if you add too much, then your dough is going to become too sticky and it'll be really difficult to handle. It's going to be more sticky than normal because you're using hot water instead of cold water. But again, the reason you want to do that is because it'll produce a flakier consistency. So I've been kneading the dough for a few minutes. I would say give it maybe 3 minutes or so, even less. It just depends on how the dough is forming. Always keep a little extra flour on the side so that if your hands get sticky, then you can dip your hand in there. Okay, so I think this is ready to go. What do you think, Evan?
Looks good.
Does that look good? All right, so now, Evan, would you be able to get me some saran wrap? We are gonna let it sit and hang out in the bowl for a minimum of 30 minutes. And the reason that we want to do that is so that the dough is easier to handle and that your pancakes will be crispy and light and not tough. If you don't let it sit for 30 minutes, then the results will not be as good because it'll be tough. While the dough is resting, we're going to go ahead and cut up some green onions, and we're going to be mincing the onions. So I've got 5. You can put more or less, it just depends on your taste. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be making enough for 4 people. So I think at the very least you want to do 1 stalk per person. So I'm going to throw in an extra one for good measure. I'm going to just make them a little bit finer so that it'll be easier to mince by slicing the white part. So as such. And then what I like to do is cut in half, and I like to cut the white parts first. And again, I've been cooking for a while, so some of you might be saying, watch your fingers, but I'm actually very comfortable with this cleaver because this is one of my favorites.
Now, do you have to use a cleaver while you're cutting these ingredients?
No, you can use any old knife as long as you can chop up the onions and mince them so that they're nice and fine, because I don't think people like biting into big chunks in their crispy pancakes, but it's up to you. As you can see, 5 stalks produces quite a bit. And we just go off the ends. And we're gonna just get that ready. You can see this actually picks up quite a bit all at once with the blade of the cleaver. Okay, and there you have it. So let's take a look at our dough. Wow, it's good. It's nice and soft, which is what we want. Okay, so we're gonna start forming the pancakes. And this part is actually pretty easy. Just poke a hole in the middle. And I like to slice it in half and work with half of the dough at a time. So you want to just stretch it out to a long log and push some of the air pockets out. There's going to be some air inside, so you want to push it out. Okay, as you can see, the dough is very soft and pliable, and that's because we used the hot water earlier. Now, I'm going to measure out, I'm going to estimate. So always start in the middle, right? So they're about equal size, and you can roll it out some more. And I think for this log, I'm gonna make 3. So let's do 1, 2, and that one's a little big, so I'm gonna... Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to make 1, and then we'll start frying.
About how large should one size?
So that's a good question. Depends on if you're gonna eat it as an appetizer or if you wanna wrap something in it. So in a lot of cultures, pancakes can be made like in naan, would be a lot of Indian cultures like to serve naan, and sometimes you can wrap food in it. But I like to make them, I would say about maybe 6 inches. So you want to make this really, really thin as possible. And that's how you develop the layers, which will give it the crispiness when you fry the pancake. First goes the oil. Brush it out. Sprinkle a little salt. And pile on the onions. Okay. And now you start rolling into a log. And then you turn it into a cinnamon roll. Okay? We're developing the layers this way. And just tuck the bottom under and flatten. Now make sure that you don't have too much air pockets, otherwise your onions will fall through when you start pan frying it. Okay? We're gonna roll it out again. I just rolled out my first pancake and this is what it should look like. Okay, so there you go. You can see all the onions coming out on both sides. And I'm gonna make a few more and I'll meet you back at the fryer. All right, so I've got about 2 tablespoons of oil in here on a nonstick pan. It's nice and hot and ready to go. So let's go ahead and fry up some of these scallion cakes.
Make sure to flip after about 2 minutes on each side, and then it should be ready. What heat should you cook these at?
I would start out at medium-high and then turn it down to medium. So there's a really important technique I want to show you to make it even extra crispy. Take the sides and squish it together like this. Push it in together. See that? See how it creates the layers? That'll make it extra crispy when you cut into it.
And now for my favorite part. Mmm, delicious. Mmm, it's perfect. Crispy on the outside and flaky and delicious. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys, and also let us know in the comments down below what you want to see next. Later!